everyone, and welcome back to the show. I am your host, The Vigilante, and I'm back at it with another video. So for today's video, we're going to be doing none other than the Nintendo's favorite reject, Harmon Smith. And if you truly enjoy my videos, please give it a like, share, and subscribe. I'm really trying to get to 1,000 subscribers by the end of the year, and I really need your help. And also, if there is a fanboy of any type, whether it's a Nintendo fanboy, a Sony pony, Xbot, PC gooner, whatever you can think of, someone that goes against the consumer, let me know. I want to react to them, especially some Sony ponies. I am having a very hard time finding YouTube videos where you got someone defending Sony. But let's get into the video.
A couple of months back, some fraud named Liam Robertson released a Donkey Kong video claiming that there was a 3D project in development at Vicarious Visions, which was unceremoniously canceled. I made a video, making fun of the creator of the video, Liam Robertson. He is a fraud. He doesn't know what he's talking about. He makes it all up. All these people are complete and utter frauds. I personally called the 3D Donkey Kong game being made because of moves Nintendo was making in regards to the theme park, DK's role in the movie. It was kind of obvious to me that a big major Donkey Kong project was in production, which was why there were so many people, coming to the same conclusion that I was.
If anybody here's a fraud, it's you whenever you sit there and say you're a gamer. And yes, you were correct about the Donkey Kong 3D game, but guess what? A broken clock is right twice a day.
Only they were pretending to have insider information, and that they were just going left and right and just throwing all these really ridiculous claims out there that really do need to be talked about and dismissed, because I do think it's very frustrating how so many people still pay attention to or acknowledge these Nintendo leakers, these fraudsters, people who take Patreon dollars to make stuff up about the industry. And obviously there are countless examples of this over the years, games like Pokemon Stars and, Star Fox Grand Prix, Endless Ocean 3 was something that was teased as a Wii U launch title, these days it feels like this kind of stuff doesn't get the same kind of traction it used to.
Well, of course not. We have the internet now, so it's easy to disprove a lot of the myths. Back in the day, you didn't have the internet, so when you heard something, you actually thought it was true. And you do the exact same thing. You sit there and spread out stuff that isn't true. How many times have you sat there and said a game is a flop even though it sold millions of copies?
But, in the wake of, Donkey Kong Bonanza being revealed, this project that was very obvious to those of us who were paying attention to what Nintendo was doing, we do need to talk about, what happened here with this video. What did Liam Robertson try to do? His what was it, an hour-long video essay of him just rambling about what some guy said on Twitter. Let's see, I had it brought up. Yeah, was it an hour?
Are you kidding me? You're seriously looking this stuff up while you're recording? You should already have that stuff ready to go. You shouldn't be looking up stuff now. You really need to learn how to edit, so I don't have to do so much damn work. Even if you couldn't have had it already ready, you could have edited this part out.
Hour-long video, going over, something that some guy said on some message board, which was disputed by some other guy, which completely contradicts what that information said. Again, it doesn't take a genius to figure out that Donkey Kong is a major Nintendo brand, and that Nintendo very well make a new one. This wasn't hard to figure out, right? Again, anybody who was paying attention could have seen this coming, right? You did not need insider sources to know that a major new Donkey Kong game was in production. But the thing about this ridiculous, completely false Liam Robertson video is the fact that he erroneously claims that Vicarious Visions was behind the initial pitch for Donkey Kong. That was his legit narrative, that Nintendo went to this literally Who studio and told them handed them the reins to their most iconic IP, and then for some reason took it back.
I know Harmon's hard for you to understand, but that stuff does happen all the time. Nintendo does have other studios that they don't own do stuff for them. Look at From Software is literally creating an exclusive just for them. But you're sitting there saying that their best IP is Donkey Kong. That is not their best IP. If that was their best IP, they would have sat there and kept creating it. If anything, it's either Zelda or Mario Kart.
That's legit the narrative of this video, is that they started development on this game, but Nintendo took it back because of Activision, and it's just a gigantic cope. Vicarious Visions has never produced anything of value. Oh wait, but they remastered Spyro and Crash. I don't care. Those games were never good. Those games were nowhere near DK's level. Okay, I don't know what it was with Vicarious Vision, the Visions 5 years ago, but there was this really weird push among the community to act as if they were like some major up and coming like 3D platforming studio. You know, there were all these narratives about how they were gonna make their own, like make new entries in all these games, and that they were gonna like dominate, and that they were gonna compete with Nintendo, you know. And now they're just done. They don't produce shit. Okay, they're trash.
You know, you sit there and say that Spyro and Crash Bandicoot ain't shit, and they don't, and that Donkey Kong is a way better than they are. You do realize that both of those franchises have both outsold Tropical Freeze and the one before that, Donkey Kong 64. Don't know where you're thinking this. They literally couldn't even compete. They literally have sold more. So you're sitting there saying something completely false, just like what you're complaining about what they're doing with all this insider information. You couldn't even do a simple Google search.
They always were trash. They always would be trash. You know, like this idea that Nintendo would contract them because of a remaster of Crash Bandicoot is laughably stupid, laughably off base, and really does need to be like called out for how stupid it is. You know, this is what Liam Robertson always does, is that he cites some source that's like tangentially associated with the project, you know, some retro employee, some journo, some guy on a website, and then he cites them as like reliable sources. And every single time, what they come up with is just complete and utter insanity, you know, complete out of touch with reality. It does need to be said, you know, that this idea that...
Harmon, do you understand how unprofessional it is for you to be recording a video and drinking water, making all these weird faces because you're thinking really hard? I understand the voices. They're talking way too much at once and you have to filter through them. But learn how to edit the shit out.
Nintendo is contracting these Western developers. Like, it really needs to stop. Okay, there's a reason it doesn't happen. There's a reason Nintendo doesn't trust them with their big relevant IPs. There's a reason why they're reluctant to work with Westerners. Because they are complete shit. They do not produce good games. Their retention rate of talent is awful. You know, they never want to do anything other than just stale derivative like FPS rehashes, right? Like, they don't have the talent to produce what Nintendo needs produced, okay? And I'm glad to see that, like, the new Donkey Kong game is developed in-house at Nintendo, because the quality we're seeing with that game is far beyond anything what, like, the developers of Skylanders are like.
Please, someone tell them that Rare Games is a Western development company. They're the ones that started the whole Donkey Kong series. I don't think they were involved in Tropical Freeze, but they might have been. But they're a Western development company. You keep sitting there bashing them, but they're the ones. I don't think he realizes that Rare Games is a Western development company, you freaking idiot.
Or the like could have produced, right? The difference in quality between that and like Western slop is just insane. And it does need to be talked about more, just how far ahead of the rest of the industry Nintendo actually is compared to their contemporaries. You know, like, there is just no other studio that could have produced this game. This idea that like Nintendo would have like contracted this out to like a nobody studio first and then like stole it back is just retarded. Okay, like this isn't like the dumbest narrative I've seen like Liam Robertson put out, because, you know, at least there was like some basis in reality for it. You know, there was a 3D Donkey Kong game in development at Nintendo, but clearly, literally, Vicarious Visions had nothing to do with it.
Please, someone tell them that Rare Games is a Western development company. They're the ones that started the whole Donkey Kong series. I don't think they were involved in Tropical Freeze, but they might have been. But they're a Western development company. You keep sitting there bashing them, but they're the ones. I don't think he realizes that Rare Games is a Western development company, you freaking idiot.
It is an issue. Okay, like, seeing these kind of stories come out unchallenged, and seeing the people behind it, you know, do their best to silence those who would speak out against them. You know, I got my video calling that video out taken down because like Liam Robertson threw a temper tantrum over me like addressing this, and yeah, still mad about that. We'll continue calling these people out. We'll continue addressing this kind of thing. You know, your story was completely baseless and unfounded. Nobody cares what you have to say about anything.
And that does suck that you got to take it down. But I have a feeling it was for something other than that. But please keep speaking out. Please, Harmon. You are the gift that keeps on giving. Please. So we can have more content for years to come. Well, that's it for my reaction. Let me know down in the comments if you agree with me or not. Please like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, stay vigilant.